What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Frenzy podcast. My name is Ben Peddler. I'm your host, and I'm joined here, as always, with my very special co-hosts, Robert Armstrong and Tyler Master Marino. Boys, how we doing?
Doing well. Thursday Night Football's on, so.
Doing fantastic. Me and Rob got a head-to-head matchup going.
Second podcast matchup of the season.
It is. Tyler, I wish you better luck than I had.
Yes. Top two teams in the league, too. It's going to be a great
Definitely.
matchup.
We'll keep track of that. So for this week, I want to kind of switch up the order again. You know, the other day we had Ian on the show. Had a ton of fun with that, playing studs and duds. Today we're going to kind of do... We're not going to play studs and duds because that's going to be a kind of a guest specialty. What we're going to do today is we're going to start off by listing one player each from the skill positions, less quarterback. Or I guess we could do a quarterback. I didn't prepare you guys for that, but we can kind of pull that up here. We're going to pick one person from each skill position: running back, wide receiver, and tight end that we think is ascending in the league, and one that's descending. So this bit will be called Ascenders and Descenders, in case you couldn't figure that one out. So, Tyler, we'll have you go first. Give me one running back ascender that you have for the rest of the season. Give us a brief summary of why.
All right. My running back is going to be Chris Carson. And believe it or not, he's the number 5
Stole my guy. You stole my guy, but go ahead.
He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's been involved in the passing games. He has at least 3 catches in every single game so far. And that Seattle offense is absolutely popping, firing on all cylinders. He's going touchdown crazy, and he's a guy that was drafted kind of late. And I think you can catch somebody off guard that doesn't realize that he's a number 5 ranked running back, and you should try and get him as a trade target.
I saw that earlier today when I was getting my guys prepared for this. I was like, holy crap, he's the number 5 running back, and you know, with the injury, it's just kind of surprising to see. But I mean, he's running the rock like crazy. Rob, I'll let you go second. I know you were a little over-prepared, but as the host, I will go last. So, Rob, give me an ascender running back you have for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I accidentally did 3 because we did the 3 studs, or we did like 3 for something else one time, so I just did 3. I'll just go with my top one because obviously it hasn't been said yet. I'll go Antonio Gibson. It's a guy I 2 weeks ago said I was kind of sleeping on, honestly, 2 weeks ago. I didn't like him as much just because of the Redskins offense, but now obviously we know the Dwayne Haskins news. Dwayne Haskins was not only demoted to backup, he was demoted to the backup to the backup. He now has 2 Kyle Allen and Alex Smith in front of him in Washington. So I think now that means even if they're down, I think they're still going to have to run it because I don't think Kyle Allen's that good. Wasn't that good in Carolina. Had a few good games, and that was it. Had almost as many picks as touchdowns. So I think they're going to run the ball more, and then they're going to dump it off more. And Gibson was effective last week, and I think he's going to be more effective going forward just because that offense is going to have to run through him as he now becomes like the best player in that offense.
Yeah, that's another good option there, and I totally agree with your analysis, especially with the news of Kyle Allen coming in for Dwayne Haskins. I'm gonna share my ascender running back now. I know you had it on your list, Rob. We were talking about this before, but mine's Kareem Hunt. I actually drafted him this year. I had him as a keeper from last year in the 11th round because he was not in the league, and then he signed with the Browns, and I took a late round flyer on him. Obviously, with the news last week that Nick Chubb's going to miss time, you know, Kareem Hunt, as we said in our last show, is one of the best handcuffs in the league anyway, even had standalone value as a low-end RB2, RB3. You know, now with Nick Chubb out, Kareem Hunt, you know, automatically shoots to top 5 upside every week. Certainly top 10 running back overall. I think the way the Browns offense operates, you know, it's run first. Nick Chubb was having a good year so far, but I think Kareem Hunt is going to have that next level. You know, he even played well last week in his first game without Chubb, so I just don't see that changing moving forward. I think the sky's the limit for him moving forward. So, Tyler, we'll come back to you for a running back you have as a descender for the rest of the season.
My running back for a descender is David Johnson. He has not looked very sharp so far, and I think the coaching change is going to have a big impact on the run on that whole team in general. I think they're going to go get back to their roots with Deshaun Watson throwing the ball. And so far this year, David Johnson only has 11 catches on the year. Deshaun Watson's not really looking his way. They're not as prolific as an offense as they were with DeAndre Hopkins, and he's slowly falling off the map for me real quick, and I think he's a potential trade away target. Somebody's panicking, He's not the same player he was.
Yeah, for sure. You did not steal mine this time, but I mean that's a clear cut option right there. Rob, we'll go over to you now. You're running back descender for the rest of the season.
Yeah, actually, so one of my three was actually David Johnson, and then I actually removed him last second and then put this guy here, and that is Melvin Gordon, which is funny to say because he's coming off his best performance of the year, obviously. But it was against the Jets, so there's a little bit of leeway there with that defense. But he is coming off his best performance, start off the season strong. The reason I'm saying he's a descender is because Philip Lindsay should be back fully healthy this week. And I think a lot of people are underestimating the fact that Lindsay was leading the backfield last year and actually did a pretty good job of it. So naturally, Melvin Gordon's just going to split carries. Denver's not that good of a team this year because of all the injuries and just being younger. They're not a lot of running options now when they're losing. I mean, Tampa Bay basically beat them up pretty badly, and he only ran the ball 8 times, and that was without Philip Lindsay in that backfield. That was with just Royce Freeman. So with Philip Lindsay coming back, fully healthy, since I think like the first game of the season, I expect Melvin Gordon to split a lot of carries and then lose even that pass catching because Philip Lindsay a much better pass catcher out of the backfield than him. So naturally, I'd say if you have him, trade high because he obviously is coming off a huge week, and I don't know if a lot of people know Philip Lindsay's back. I saw a lot of fantasy accounts tweeting about that.
Yeah, and he even could have been in our Studs and Duds video last week just because of the production that he had, obviously, with Philip Lindsay coming back. That's going to cut into his opportunities a lot. So I totally agree with you there. My guy, we kind of talked about this before the show, is David Montgomery. I think there was high hopes for him coming into the season, and then certainly when the Tarek Cohen injury happened, he was obviously going to be the clear-cut guy on both sides of the ball, and that just hasn't transpired. Aside from a week 2 solid week, and he actually just made me eat my words. He has a touchdown tonight, but he only had the one receiving touchdown week 2 prior to that. Hasn't rushed for over even 75 yards yet this season. So he's not the player people were hoping for this year. He's not living up to the draft capital that was used to get him. So he'll be my descender for the rest of the season. I'm going to switch up the order on this one now. We'll go into our wide receiver ascenders for the rest of the season. Rob, we'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, so I'm going to go a combination here because it'll go with my descender as well. We don't have to do that after, but my ascender is T. Higgins / Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's obviously already been pretty good all year, so I kind of just threw him on at the end just because it's going to go with everything. But T. Higgins looks a lot better. Basically, that offense is way better than I thought coming in. Obviously, Joe Burrow coming in was going to be like way better than what they had last year. Still not a very good team at the end of the day. However, the offense, fantasy-wise, is firing on all cylinders. And I actually like both of these receivers. A lot of times I don't like when there's 2 receivers like this. I actually like both these guys now, and 2 receivers I would consider trading for if you're hurt on receivers. And so I really like that Bengals offense, and it's such a surprise to me that I think that both these guys will be ascending. Obviously, like I said, Tyler Boyd's already had a couple big weeks. To call him an ascender is not really where I'd put him, but he's now, I think, a bona fide starter every week. Even against bad matchups, because for some reason, even in bad matchups, good defenses, this Bengals offense seems to be spreading the ball around and getting a ton of points for their wide receivers and Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I feel like this wide receiver core has changed a lot since even the offseason. I mean, obviously, A.J. Green was returning off the injury. No one knew how he was going to look. You had John Ross, but they quickly just kind of discarded him. He was never really going to be a threat this season. And then obviously the rookie T. Higgins, who Joe Burrow seems to love targeting so far. So I definitely agree on the T. Higgins aspect and the fact that Joe Burrow is going to continue to look his way. He's going to get better and better every week as he gets more familiar with the NFL. So, yeah, definitely a great pick there. Tyler, we'll let you go next. I'll go last again. Who's your wide receiver ascender
All
for the
right,
season?
what a nice guy. Oh, kind of a tough one because he is the number one ranked wide receiver, but I'm going Amari Cooper. He's been getting absolutely fed with targets, and that Dallas defense is putrid. The Dallas offense is amazing. His targets may even go up than what they are now. He's getting a crazy amount of catches, a crazy amount of yards, and he finally found the end zone last week. That was his first touchdown. So he's the number one wide receiver with only one touchdown on the year, which that's just absolutely amazing to me. And I mean, what more can you say about the guy? He's been phenomenal this year. He's due to find more touchdowns. I have him guaranteed for a top 3 finish as a wide receiver in PPR.
Yeah, it's a great pick there. You didn't steal my guy again, so I'm happy. My guy, selfishly, is going to be Allen Robinson for the rest of the season. Not necessarily, not necessarily that there wasn't value there. Of course, I drafted him with high hopes for him, and then, Mitchell Trubisky, not a great start to the year. Allen Robinson had a slow start to the year. Had the great week, and then, now we got Nick Foles, and I think, that's going to continue to transpire. I mean, he's got a few receptions here just in the first half. There might be some bias in this pick, but I'm excited about him for the rest of the year, and I'm definitely happy that I have him on my team, especially given Terry Cohen and the way that David Montgomery's performing. Nick Foles is going to be looking his way a lot. So I'm high on him for the rest of the year. And now we'll go back to Rob for your descender wide receiver for the rest of the season.
If you couldn't figure it out by now, you just weren't listening, because obviously I hinted at it with the last one. The reason why I picked T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd as ascenders is because I'm picking A.J. Green as a descender. Again, didn't come in this year drafted as highly as past years. Obviously, A.J. Green was always one of the big wide receiver names in the NFL, especially fantasy-wise. So he even fell down a little bit pre-draft, but still, there's some good draft value. I think in our league, he was like 6th round. I'm looking at right here. It looks like, 6th round. So that's still pretty high, especially in an 8-man league when there's way more people available. He was still going in the 6th round, so he was drafted pretty highly. Seems to be now the 3rd option while still maintaining pretty much number 1 coverage. So Joe Burrow doesn't even look his way half the time. He could put up good week because he is talented, but for me, I just feel like he's on the down, especially as T. Higgins goes up. I think they're just going to be starting to level each other off, and then as long as A.J. Green does keep demanding this number 1 coverage, I just don't think there's a point to look his way when you have 2 talented guys underneath him that are going to be finding themselves way more open. So as much as I love the offense and how much they're spreading the ball, I think A.J. Green does take a hit because of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, obviously I kind of dug into this in the last one. It's unfortunate what's happening to A.J. Green, but I guess it is what it is, and Joe Burrow likes his young targets. So, Tyler, who is going to be your wide receiver descender for the rest of the year?
My wide receiver descending is going to be Terry McLaurin. I am very concerned with the quarterback change that's going on. Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin had a good rep together in college, and that translated very well into the NFL. Terry McLaurin's also been banged up a little bit, but I think even a fully healthy Terry McLaurin is going to take a big hit without Dwayne Haskins as QB. I don't understand the quarterback change quite yet. And I hope Terry McLaurin can get the same amount of targets with Kyle Allen, but I don't trust it.
Yeah, I know I've said it before. Terry McLaurin's kind of like the one consistency in that offense. And now they're, changing out the person that feeds him the ball. And, I definitely understand your feelings. I'm sure Rob doesn't like to hear it, being a Terry McLaurin owner.
I couldn't put him on this list, but I did look at him. I'm just hoping that maybe Kyle Allen's bad and Terry McLaurin just gets open for 10 catches. He is bad, but Terry McLaurin just seems to find a way to get 10 catches a game, regardless, even if it's for 50 yards, and I'll take that. I'll take 10 catches for 50 yards every single game, and then just hope every once in a while he throws in a touchdown there. But as long as he can keep getting the volume of catches, I know the yardages and that offense production is going to go down. But I couldn't put him on my list.
Yeah, you can't do that to your own guy.
No.
So my descender wide receiver, and I have some good reasoning behind it, and it's going to kind of shock you, but I'm going Mike Evans, and I'm going to tell you why. Yep, I'm going Mike Evans, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, Chris Godwin's going to be back next week. obviously one of the top 2 wide receivers, kind of 1A, 1B with Mike Evans on that team. Looking at Mike Evans' stats so far this year, week 1 he scored 7.2 points, and that included a touchdown. He had 1 reception for 2 yards and a touchdown. Week 3 he had 2 receptions for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns. As of right now, tonight he has 1 reception for 2 yards and 1 touchdown. So he's only getting He's literally getting these 1 or 2 yard touchdown receptions. It doesn't even look like he has any touchdowns on the year, except for last week he did have 122 yards. But again, Chris Godwin isn't there. Tom Brady, as we said in the last show, loves spreading the ball around. Obviously, O.J. Howard's gone, but Cameron Brate's still there. Scotty Miller's looking great. And as I said, Chris Godwin's coming back. Just
Tyler Johnson guy tonight has been
that. Yes, as well. Tyler Johnson as well. So I think between Chris Godwin coming back, obviously, very, very skillful wide receiver, and the way Tom Brady spreads the ball around, I don't think Mike Evans is going to stay in this amount of touchdowns. Therefore, it could lead without the touchdowns, week 1 he scored 1.2 points. Without the touchdowns in week 3 he scored 2.2 points. Without the touchdown tonight, he scored 1.2 points. So, it's just very concerning on that front. So that is why I have Mike Evans as my descending wide receiver for the rest of the season.
I did consider him as well. The only thing is that the stat was he's the most targeted player in the entire NFL, like in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's obvious he has 6 touchdowns.
If it's tonight though, even a touchdown doesn't save only having 1 catch.
Nope.
That's only 7.2 points if you get a touchdown.
Yeah, so
right now he has. I'm guessing he has right.
That's what he has right now. He has 7.2 points right now. He ended week 1 with 7.2 points, and that included a touchdown. That's a bust week points wise.
Yeah, exactly. So
for someone like him,
if he was averaging 3 to 4 catches, and he got this in the same production in the red zone, I would say that'd be a weird pick. But if he's only getting 1 or 2 catches per game, the touchdown doesn't save that at all.
And
4 to 5 catches, we're getting there, but.
They're 1 or 2 yards. Any of those even easily could have gone to Ronald Jones or Gronk or Cameron Brate or whoever. Mike Evans just got the pick on that. So, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that. But we'll go back to Tyler. You can go first. Tight ends ascending for the rest of the season. Who's your guy?
My guy is going to be Hunter Henry. And I know he had a bad week last week with only 5.9 fantasy points. But I'm honestly, to this point, I'm shocked Justin Herbert isn't targeting him more. Tight ends tend to be safety blankets for these rookie QBs, and Justin Herbert has just been absolutely force-feeding Keenan Allen. And I think he's going to start to look Hunter Henry's way some more. And even as of right now, Hunter Henry's the 13th ranked tight end. All it takes is a couple more catches. He's right on the fridge of tight end 1, and that offense is starting to click together now. Hunter Henry's just going to have more touchdown opportunities, and I think he's just due for way more targets.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there, and no reason not to agree with you, Rob. Who's going to be your tight end ascender for the rest of the year?
I love that this happened the way it did, and we're recording a little bit later because he just got a touchdown. Jimmy Graham. Since Nick Foles took over, obviously, Ben, you talked about it, Allen Robinson's value goes up a ton. That offense just gets a lot better. But I think even more than Allen Robinson, the main benefactor of Nick Foles coming in is Jimmy Graham. Nick Foles took over, obviously, against the Falcons, I believe it was. That's when he stepped in. 6 catches on 10 targets for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Last week, only 5 targets, 4 catches for 33 yards, but it was against a very good Colts defense. And this tonight, I don't have the stats up right now, but he has that touchdown, and he's been targeted quite a few times. Actually, he almost had a touchdown before, but was called out of bounds by a second or a half step. Right now, he has 2 receptions, 25 yards, and touchdown. But looking his way in the end zone, more than Allen Robinson and then Anthony Miller and so on and so forth, Dave Montgomery. But I think the main benefactor of Nick Foles being in here is Jimmy Graham. And there's that offense clicking more. So I think he's my big tight end on the rise. I couldn't say Mo Ali Cox again. I wanted to. But I think he's been on the rise for too long for me to say him.
I really want Allen Robinson to be the benefactor of that QB transition.
I think he is all the way down the field, and then as soon as they get to the red zone, it's all Jimmy Graham.
No, I agree. I mean, tight ends are obviously super valuable in that aspect. My guy, I was kind of torn between who to pick, and I swear I'm not going by bias, but it came down to two guys, Zach Ertz and Hayden Hurst, who I have both on my team conveniently. But I'm just trying to think. I was trying to think between the offenses and the opportunity moving forward. There's opportunity for both. Obviously, Zach Ertz with Dallas Goedert being out. He's the guy. Alshon Jeffrey's going to be coming back soon, which is going to open up the field. But then obviously you got Carson Wentz. So I'm going to go with Hayden Hurst here. Julio Jones re-aggravated his injury, and it looks like he's going to miss some time. Matt Ryan is not well as he's been playing. He's still going to be a gunslinger the rest of the year, and I think Hayden Hurst is going to take a lot of Julio Jones targets. Obviously, Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage are there, but I think Hayden Hurst has a really good opportunity to, not break out, but be a really strong tight end one the rest of the year. Even when Julio does come back, I think he'll continue to build that rapport with Matt Ryan and, be a strong fantasy asset. So, Tyler, we'll come back to you for your descending tight end for the rest of the year.
My descending tight end is going to be Tyler Higbee.
Rob, start thinking of a new one quick.
I have three, so I was already good. But
Yep.
That was my number one.
Yeah, so Tyler Higbee, he's only had that one game where he popped off 28 fantasy points, and that included 3 touchdowns. Outside of that, he is having pretty miserable games. He's getting his max yards outside of that is 40 yards, which he did twice. He's not getting targeted a crazy amount, and he's not catching a crazy amount. And this offense doesn't look like a typical Sean McVay offense that we're used to. I don't know where he is on the ranks of passing options. Sean McVay has been changing the game plan around a lot to target specific guys, specific games. So I think he's got a couple more boom games left in him this year, but he's going to have a lot of busts. And if you're starting him week in and week out, you're going to have to be ready for some mostly single-digit games, I think, the rest of the year out. I think he might have 2 more where he gets over 10 points, but I think in general, he's stuck below 10.
Yeah, and it's always been tough to kind of tag a tight end, or at least for me, I feel like I've always had tight end issues outside of like Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and then once you get George Kittle, obviously, and then once you get past that, those 3 guys, it's kind of unpredictable. But Rob, who do you have, or who's your second guy for
this
tight end?
This one
descender?
hurts because I actually just like him as a player, mostly because of Madden. But Mike Gesic, he had the big game.
Love him too in Madden, dude.
He's so good. I don't know why in Madden, but without Madden, in real life, he had good first week, kind of. I mean, for a tight end, three receptions, 5 targets is fine. If your tight end's getting like 5 targets and then get some big catches and a touchdown, that's usually fine. Especially if, like Ben said, once you get past these top couple guys, next week pops off for 8 catches on 11 targets, 130 yards, and a touchdown. And then I think that's when his value skyrocketed because the Fitz magic was showing. Everyone thought Fitz magic was going to somehow put it together for the Dolphins this year. And then since then, against Jacksonville, 1 catch on 3 targets, 15 yards. Got a touchdown, luckily, on that 1 catch. And then Seattle, 1 catch on 3 targets for no touchdown. So 15 yards again. So exactly the same games, just one was in the end zone, one wasn't. I don't believe in Fitz magic. I can't. I think we see the best of them. I think that Bills game back to the Jacksonville game, those 2 games in a row, were like peak Fitz magic. And if we've gotten peak Fitz magic in week 2 and 3, I don't think we're going to see it for the rest of the year. Their schedule does ease up a little bit, but they do have to play the Bills again and the Patriots again. 2 good defenses. And I just don't think Gesicki is the guy. I think he's too reliant on the play of the quarterback, and like I said, I don't think it's going to be very good. He's not getting a ton of targets even when they are playing well. So outside that Buffalo game, if you picked him up then, I think that was an anomaly, and I don't think it's worth it now, especially because they actually are spreading the ball around to some other tight ends as well.
And then my guy's going to be, and this mine kind of hurts me to say as well because I drafted him and I was kind of high on him coming into the year. But mine's going to be Jonnu Smith. Like I said, I drafted him, but, between Mike Davis and Derrick Henry and now A.J. Brown's going to be coming back, I just think the opportunities are going to start to go away. Ryan Tannehill's Ryan Tannehill. He's not a Tom Brady or a Russell Wilson where he's going to spread the ball around a lot, and I just think opportunities are going to seize up for him. They come back from whenever they ever actually end up playing again, and they're playing Buffalo, solid defense, and then Houston, and then Pittsburgh. I just think that it's going to be tough sledding for him moving forward. And again, it hurts me to say because I drafted him. I don't have him now, but he's going to be my pick for descending tight end on the year.
Maybe some forfeit.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's tough to get fantasy points from them if they don't even play. So that will wrap up.
Are we going to do a QB?
Go ahead,
Rob. Are we going to surprise a QB or no? You had mentioned maybe doing a QB.
I did mention it. Yeah, let's go, Rob. You can even go first. You can do our ascending quarterback first.
Okay, so I don't know how he's ascending at this point, but it's got to be Tom Brady, right? I mean, I was kind of shocked. Obviously, I wasn't sure the offense. Everyone kind of thought the offense is really good down there. However, Tom Brady isn't your normal go-to fantasy quarterback. At least he wasn't in New England, because you never knew how New England was going to play. Were they going to run the ball? Were they going to pass it a lot? What was the game plan? And it was just too variable. But however, against two back-to-back relatively good defenses, Denver kind of tough because their offense is so bad right now that their defense can't really hold it out. Had 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Last week, tough to start the game with a pick six. However, came back for 369 yards and 5 touchdowns against a Chargers team that has held Patrick Mahomes to not many points and to overtime. I think Tom Brady has figured out this Buccaneers offense. They've mixed in Rojo quite well so at least it's not just like they're going to pass every single time. So Rojo's getting enough. And we just talked about Mike Evans. When Mike Evans is only getting 1 catch and you're still productive, and you haven't even had Chris Godwin, who was one of the number 1 wide receivers last year, it only can get better. Scotty Miller looks like that prototypical guy that Tom Brady can just find when he needs to if the other two are covered. We said the play of Tyler Johnson stepped up. Cyril Grayson, I don't know who that is, caught a pass earlier this game, and he looks like peak Tom Brady, but imagine if the Patriots actually knew how to draft a wide receiver. That's kind of what's going on right now, and I think he's just going to be actually a valuable fantasy quarterback without the running game.
Yeah, you can never go wrong with TB12. Tyler, I'm going to be selfish. I'm not going to go second this time. I'm going to make you go last.
All right.
My guy is going to be the rookie Joe Burrow. Is going to be my ascender for the rest of the year. I know we kind of touched upon him earlier, but he's playing phenomenally. He's definitely leading the rookie class this year. I wish it was Clyde, but it's not. Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are just providing great options for him down the field. The past 3 weeks, he's thrown for over 300 yards. He's got 6 passing touchdowns on the year so far, 1 rushing, and we're in week 4. The kid looks great, loves his younger options, and I just don't see that slowing down. I think he's going to keep going up and up for the rest of the year. Tyler, that will leave you for your ascending quarterback.
All right, and I am going to go with a shocking pick and Carson
Ooh,
Wentz.
I'll take that if he throws it to Zach Ertz.
Some people have been really hard on him this year. He got off to a little bit of a slow start. He's throwing a lot of picks, but I think that Eagles team they're really bad, but I think their talent is better than what they've been playing. Carson Wentz has really been willing that team to keep them in games. They're in first, technically, so he's doing all right. But to me, Carson Wentz looks really good. He's putting in the effort. He's starting to tuck and run the ball and saying, screw it, I can't pass it to anybody. I just got to run it in myself. And I think he deserves a little bit of credit for keeping the team in almost every single game they've been in so far. I'm not starting him against Pittsburgh or Baltimore the next 2 weeks. Absolutely not. But I think after that, you will start to see him rise a lot more. And he gets to play Dallas twice this year, which is going to be fantastic.
Okay. All right.
I like that strategy. Me, as long as pick the lowest guy you can possibly think of, because there's only room to ascend. There is only room to ascend. Hey, I actually like the pick. I do like that one, but I was just making that joke because he was so bad that
two 21-point games the past 2 weeks, and one was against San Francisco, who I think is a very stingy defense and played very well against them.
No, I agree. So Rob, we'll go back to you. Your descending quarterback for the rest of the year.
So mine descending is a guy that came out super hot firing, and I kind of slowed down the last 2 weeks really, and I think it's going to kind of steady
Don't
out
say
now.
it. Don't do it to me.
Maddie Ice.
Okay, never mind.
Yep.
That was going to be mine, but
That
okay,
was my guy.
Maddie Ice, because I mean, like we said, he looked great. That Falcons offense looks like if you just took any single person on that offense, it was a good pick. Like you with Calvin Ridley and stuff like that. I still think those guys are gonna be good. I think Calvin Ridley maybe hitting her, especially with Julio Jones out. I think the receivers are gonna be fine. I just think Matty Ice is gonna slow down. I don't think he's gonna throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns every week. I mean, I think we now can look back and see Seattle's pass defense is woeful. Then Dallas's pass defense is abysmal. I mean, how many adjectives can you think of? That's where he got most of his production this year. 450 yards against Seattle with 2 touchdowns and interception. When he plays the Bears, a good defense, 238 yards, touchdown, and interception. And then last week against the Green Bay defense, who Green Bay looks like a good team. Defense doesn't look great, only at 285 yards, didn't throw for a single touchdown. Not like that schedule gets any easier. Like he said, faced 2 of the worst pass defenses to start off the year. Looked really good. I think he's just going to continue down kind of the path he's been on with that Green Bay game. Ton of talent, so I think he's going to throw for a good amount of yards. But if he's not getting touchdowns, I mean, there's not much value in there from a QB standpoint, especially one that doesn't run.
Yeah, you stole my guy, but it's all right. I had a backup. My guy's going to be Baker Mayfield. I mean, given the breadth of options he has to throw to, it just, stuns me. That just the lack of playmaking that's going on there. I mean, they scored 49 points last week, and Baker Mayfield ended with 15 fantasy points because Jarvis Landry threw 1 touchdown to Odell. Odell ran in another one. Kareem Hunt ran in 2, I think. I mean, he hasn't even broken 170 yards in the past 2 weeks. He's only broken 200 yards once. So I just think, the offense definitely doesn't revolve around him. I think it's going to be a lot of Kareem Hunt moving forward. Maybe we'll see Jarvis Landry come in at quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen. But I don't think Baker Mayfield gets it done for the rest of the year, and that's why he's my descending quarterback. So, Tyler, we will go on to you to wrap up this segment.
I will go with the guy that is throwing to my descending tight end. I'm going Jared Goff.
Okay.
He's looked very shaky this
too,
year, as in the past. Yeah, he played Dallas already, and he did nothing against them. At this point, I think it's safe to say Dallas defense is brutal, and that's the best matchup you want to start everybody against them. But so far this year, he's had 2 games, 2 busts, and in his past, he was known for absolutely doing terrible on the road and being a fantastic home baller. And this year, it's the exact opposite, but he's going to get back to his old ways. He's going to only be startable when he's at home. He's got a couple tough matchups in San Francisco and Chicago coming up. And again, back to the argument, it's not the same Sean McVay offense that it was a few years ago. I just don't have any more faith in Jared Goff, and I do not want to start him or own him.
No, I fully agree. I actually don't like that Rams offense as much as I used to. My joke always at the draft was give me any Rams receiver. I'll take whichever one you guys leave me. And this year I was kind of the same coming in, but now I had Darrell Henderson on the fall. The descending, if we were to actually go 3, I had potentially Rams receivers like Robert Woods and stuff on descending, and then I honestly a backup of mine I was looking at was Jared Goff, but I didn't think he was owned in enough leagues to put him over who I had said. So with Matt Ryan, so I would have actually thought Jared Goff as well. I'm not really a huge fan of that Rams offense right now.
Yeah, me either. I totally agree with you. I had Darrell Henderson in my descending, especially being someone that I've had him. I paid for him. I've had him on my bench off and on, and now he's just off the island for good. I'm not messing around with that backfield anymore, especially with Cam Akers coming back this week. So that'll wrap up that segment. Thanks for playing, boys. I did enjoy that. Now I kind of want to dive into our game previews for the week. Obviously, Thursday night football going on right now. We'll kind of update you towards the end of the podcast as to where we're at. But the first game I want to talk about is the Rams at the football team. The Rams 3-1 going to play the football team at 1-3. Rob, you can go ahead. You were kind of just talking about the Rams offense, so go ahead and kind of get us going on this game.
Yeah, I thought if Haskins was still the starter, I would have said this is a sneaky, maybe underdog game. The football team hasn't looked horrible. I mean, they haven't looked good, but they haven't looked horrible. Their defense has actually sneaky been okay. And obviously, Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin have put up yards, and then Gibson, I think, is stepping up a little bit. I would have said that. Now, obviously, with Kyle Allen, I think this is the Rams game to completely lose. If they lose this game, I'd be shocked. So even though I said the offense wasn't great, I still think that there's almost no way that the Rams lose this game, especially if Chase Young actually stays out. I know he's been injured, and then Goff will have so much time to throw. The one thing I did want to say was I think Tyler would ask why Dwayne Haskins dropped down to 3. I actually just read this. I don't know if it was just during the podcast. I can't remember. I was just looking at it. That was on Twitter. Apparently, it was due to his lack of basically giving a crap about preparation and studying the game. So apparently, he just wasn't putting in the time in like the coach's room or the QB room or whatever you want to call it. And so that's why they actually dropped him. It wasn't even about really performance-wise. It's because he wasn't putting in the time preparation-wise. So that scares me a lot for Haskins coming back at any point this year either. Because, again, it wasn't really about performance. Because he was doing fine. So I just want to throw that out there because I know we just finished talking about it with the Descenders and all that stuff. But that's what I basically have for the game. I can't really see the use of anyone on the football team right now.
Yeah, to me, this is not very exciting game fantasy-wise. And even for the Rams, I'm starting Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. Scary Terry, I guess I'm starting as well. Antonio Gibson, I think, is my favorite guy. I don't think he's going to be the highest scoring. I'd say that'd be Cooper Kupp, but you paid a lot more for Cooper Kupp than Antonio Gibson, and I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. I don't think it is going to be either. I had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods as starters as well. I'm totally avoiding the backfield, like I just said, with Cam Akers coming back. Definitely not starting Malcolm Brown. Cam Akers, I'm not starting. If I had to pick one, I'm going to roll out Darrell Henderson again. But like I said, I'm avoiding this backfield at all costs until it.
Rams defense, maybe the highest scoring
yeah, exactly. Depending on how
and they've even looked as good this year, but I agree. I fully agree with you. I don't see Washington put up. I'm going to start. I have Terry. I'm going to start him this week because I want to just see. I'd rather lose starting him than have him still be consistent and sit him for no reason. So I'll ride with him this week, and then we'll have to make some decisions next week.
Yeah. So next game I want to look at is the Eagles at the Steelers. I don't even know where to start with this game. I think I want to start with Big Ben. His comments saying that they were on a roll, and then the COVID issue and them having to move the game really messed with his stride. So I'm anxious to see how he comes back this week, if he comes back firing or not. As far as personnel wise, I'm obviously rolling out James Conner. I'm going to start Juju and Deontay as well. I think the volume's going to be there against this Eagles defense, especially for Deontay. And I'm totally unbiased on my part. I think Juju's going to draw a lot of coverage, and Deontay Johnson will certainly have some opportunity to put up wide receiver 2 numbers at a minimum. Juju's Juju, so you're going to roll him out no matter what. And then on the Eagles side, obviously you have to start Zach Ertz, and you have to start there it is. Yep, thank you. Drawing a complete blank. Miles Sanders, you have to start him because, they're kind of the core of the offense right now until Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson really come back. But Tyler, I kind of want to hear your analysis on the Steelers offense in this game.
The Steelers, I'm still looking forward to the Steelers offense a lot. They got the bye week last week, which made it so that Deontay Johnson could be fully healthy for this game. And I think Big Ben could use the rest, to be honest. I know it feels good to be back after a year off, but I have no concerns for this Pittsburgh offense. I don't think that the Eagles secondary is very good, so they should have no issues throwing the ball, any of that. My only concern is they get out to a big enough lead where they don't have to throw the ball. I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to move the ball that much against the Pittsburgh defense, so game flow is my only concern.
Yeah, and Rob, talk to me about the Eagles side of things. Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders. I mean, they both, had quiet weeks last week. Zach Ertz is going to be frustrating a lot of fantasy managers that have had him for the whole year. Sanders came back week 2, had a great week. Week 3, mediocre, and last week was pretty quiet against San Francisco, who doesn't have Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas, among others. So talk to me about these two guys this week.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, I think you have to keep going with, especially, I think he's frustrating even more because Dallas Goedert came in, scared a lot of fantasy owners, then gets injured for the year. And so now it looks like Zach Ertz should be the guy even more, and really hasn't since Goddard's been out. But I just think you have to start him. I think that the Steelers' defense is so good. I'd honestly stay away from Philly at all costs. But I think Zach Ertz is the safest one. Miles Sanders scares the hell out of me because he's still getting touches as well. Like, it wasn't like San Francisco was so good that they were just beating him. They ended up beating San Francisco, as we know, and he had 13 attempts, and he's only averaging 3.5 yards a carry last week, then 5.3 and 4.8. He's talented. He's looked okay here and there. Obviously got 95 yards 2 weeks in a row. Missed the first game of the season. Steelers, not it, because their defense is so good. That, obviously, I think if you have Miles Sanders, he's probably one of your better running backs, so you might be forced to start him. But honestly, I just don't like the Eagles at all, especially coming off a win. I don't think they're going to be like as hungry, if that makes any sense. I mean, the division's up for grabs, so maybe they will be. But I just don't like anybody on the Eagles right now. But for this game, I think going forward, Sanders is good. But
well, yeah, obviously the Steelers are one of the top, if not the top defense in the league. Really tough matchup for Sanders this week. But I just think given the tools that Carson Wentz has, he has Zach Ertz, and then I don't think Alshon Jeffrey's going to be back this week. So I just think the opportunity, like you said, volume-wise is going to be there. I want to talk about the Cardinals at the Jets now. I mean, if there were a game, all I have to say here is Kenyan Drake. I mean, if there was a game where he was going to make it happen, I know the Jets' run defense is solid this year, but I just think, game script opportunity, the Cardinals are going to get up quick, and Kenyan Drake's going to get a lot of volume in this. I expect Chase Edmonds to, have his touches as well. Or if we want best of all worlds, Kyler Murray can just run in 3 touchdowns, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. But Tyler, talk to me. How do you think, this is kind of a big game for Kenyan Drake. Obviously, he's been very, very disappointing. Last week was supposed to be the get-right game against the Panthers. That didn't happen. They have the Jets this week and then Dallas next week. If it doesn't get going, I mean, what is the thought around Kenyan Drake moving forward?
They have the most beautiful schedule coming up. Jets, Dallas, Seattle. I'm hanging on to him for those 3 games. Chase Edmonds scares me a little bit. Not a crazy amount. I really do think Kenny Drake's going to get it going. I think if you're looking to trade for him, I think he's a trade for target. But if he doesn't, even if he does bad against the Jets, I might be looking to trade him away because he hasn't been too crazy involved in the offense. They should be winning this game. They should be able to run the ball against the Jets. I don't care how good their run defense is. That should be their goal for every single game. They really need to get him more involved because they can't just rely on the passing game to win games. I think Arizona as a whole needs to get it together. And once they do that, then Kenyan Drake is going to start seeing more touches, more touchdowns. I do think he's due. But if he doesn't do anything these next 3 games, I'm out completely. I would never draft him again in any other league for the entirety of my life if he doesn't do anything. If he doesn't get over 10 points for every single one of these games. Let's bump it up a little bit. Let's do 15 points.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do 15 points for every single one of these next 3 games, then I'm out on him.
Kyler Murray has 20 more yards rushing this season than him.
I mean, that's all we really need to say right there. I want to move into the next game, though, the Raiders at the Chiefs. This is kind of an interesting game, to me at least. The Raiders started off hot 2-0. They've gone 0-2 since then. Obviously, the Chiefs are undefeated. One guy I really want to focus on here, and Rob, I'm going to let you do this because, Tyler, I don't want to hear your complaining, is Josh Jacobs. Hasn't, especially last week, didn't really produce to what he was expected to. This Chiefs defense is definitely something that he can exploit, so I want to hear what you have to say about him for this week.
Yeah, I thought he was still doing fine, and I think he still will be good because I think he's a talented guy. Like, he's still young. I mean, I think he's very talented, but listen to these 4 games: 3.7 yards a carry, 3.3 yards a carry, 4.4 against New England, which doesn't have a very good run for how good the defense is. Isn't a top tier run defense. And then last week 3.2 against Buffalo, which is a good defense to be fair. And he's got 4 catches, 3 catches, 3 catches, 3 catches. So he's not involved a ton in the passing game. I mean, he's I think he's just right now, currently in the current state, is touchdown dependent. The Chiefs obviously very good. Not exactly the week I want to make the decision on him. I mean, I don't know. The decision's going to be whether you trade him or not, not whether you sit him or not. If you have him, you have to start him because he is a talented guy in a talented offense. But right now he's super touchdown dependent because 16 carries for 71 yards is good, but he's not going to get 16 carries every single week. 15 carries for 48 yards. I mean, that's only 4.8 yards or 4.8 points, and then has a couple catches. I mean, it's just not very good. Chiefs maybe get right. Worse run defense than probably New England and Buffalo. Not New England. New England's run defense is not very good. That scares me to see against New England. I thought he was going to run all over us. I thought we'd be good with like Darren Waller and stuff like that, but I thought he'd run all over us and he didn't, and that scares me a little bit. But it's Josh Jacobs, very talented, good offense. If the team can get right, I think Josh Jacobs will also get right. I think the whole offense is just struggling right now.
Yeah, now to kind of shift over to the Chiefs, I think, this game's at Arrowhead. They're 4-0. I mean, I think it's kind of not really a question of which way this game's going to go. I want to talk about Clyde for a second because the Raiders are last in the league on the run defense, and I think this is a week that Clyde can really break out on the ground. I mean, he had a decent week 1. He's had some good volume, combination of rushing and pass catching in the couple weeks since then. So he's put up good value for what you'd expect out of a rookie, but I think this could be a really big week for him. Obviously Travis Kelce's there, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, but I think, this could be a really big breakout week for Clyde, and I think the Chiefs are going to win this game unquestionably. So I don't really feel like there's much more we need to say about that.
I think this has to be a good week for him, though. If it's not, then you start getting a little nervous because he is a rookie and you don't really know which way he's going to turn out. Since he hasn't really done anything since the boom in week 1.
I'm getting sick of all these running backs underperforming.
It's terrifying, the running backs this year, and that's why Rob and I stressed. That's why we stressed.
Except for getting injured.
Stressed kind of rolling running back early in the draft. Now I want to look at the Jaguars at the Texans game. 1-3 Jaguars going to Houston 0-4, who just fired their head coach. We kind of
long overdue.
Yeah, and GM.
And okay, same guy, but
I know. And now he's running for local council in my neighborhood, apparently.
Yes, apparently I did see that picture you sent. I think for the Jaguars, this is going to be. I honestly think the Jaguars could win this game. I mean, I know they're going to Houston, but they got DJ Chark back playing well, Laviska Shenault playing well, Gardner Minshew's Gardner Minshew. I think the offense is clicking right now despite their record, and Houston's just in a really bad way. I think now with the firing of Bill O'Brien, they can, there's going to be the interim coach. I don't know his name off the top of my head, admittedly, but I think that's kind of like a, shock to the system. And, Deshaun Watson's a fantastic quarterback. He's, one of the top in the league, and it just hasn't been working for him this year, obviously losing DeAndre Hopkins. So I think, if there was a chance to pivot in the season, I feel like it's this game against the 1-3 Jaguars, but I just think the Jaguars offense is so fiery that, either team could win, honestly.
This is, I agree, this is a full 50-50. Yeah. This is either Houston being like, F you, Bill O'Brien, and going out and just destroying the Jaguars, or they tunnel and hide and the Jaguars actually come out and win this game. I think it's so 50-50. I don't know which way. This happens all the time with coach firings. Yeah. That the team either comes out, because obviously all the stuff came out about J.J. Watt maybe having an argument. That was kind of like the final straw, and that's why they end up firing him. But then also J.J. Watt came out and said good things about him. So, I mean, if the players did really start disliking him, I think this is like a Houston just comes out and just performs just because to shove it in his face and say it was his fault. But who knows? It's one of those games I can't predict, and I hope the Jaguars win.
Yeah, I think I'm more excited for the Jaguars fantasy players.
I would agree with you.
For you guys, Yeah, out of this pair, who do you think is going to score more points? DJ Chark and James Robinson, or David Johnson and Will Fuller?
I can go first. I think, unquestionably it's going to be Chark and Robinson. Obviously Will Fuller's he's a big play guy. David Johnson, I don't remember. I think it was Tyler. You had him as your descending running back, right? And I totally agree with you on that. I think, obviously David Johnson was injured last year, came back, went to the Houston this year, and he just has not been. I think I didn't have him as one of my studs, but I had one of them as my guys a couple weeks ago that I was like, he's going to pick it up this season and kind of get back to his old form, and that's not happened at all. So, for me, DJ Chark coming back healthy, playing great. James Robinson's obviously playing fantastic on the ground. Gardner Minshew being Gardner Minshew, I think it's, for me, it's a no-brainer, but Rob, I'll let you kind of chime in here.
See, for me, it's only I only have to think about it because it's my love in Gardner Minshew versus the fact that I have to start Will Fuller this week, and I want him to do well.
So I don't have bias in this.
I think James Robinson win. I think, honestly, it comes down to James Robinson winning this battle because I don't think David Johnson's very good right now. I think James Robinson completely dominates that battle. I think Chark and Fuller could have similar weeks. Actually, not biasly. Jacksonville's defense is 24th ranked in yards allowed. That's screams Will Fuller, but I've only started Will Fuller one other time, and he had 0 catches for 0 yards. So I am starting him this week, so expect him to have 0 catches for 0 yards. But this could be another big week for him back-to-back, which would be progressing because he did obviously have a good week last week and actually has had a couple good weeks. So putting a few together would be good. But I do think if you were to make me choose between those two pairs, I would pick the Jaguars one because James Robinson specifically.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's just outplaying expectation. And again, DJ Chark, I almost had him as one of my risers, but I kind of felt it was too obvious. I did have him as a stud the other day.
I do like Chark a lot, but
yeah.
I thought about that too, but we had him.
Yeah, so we can't do too many repeats. Now we'll kind of move into the Bengals at the Ravens in Baltimore. I know I was, we were talking, especially me, I was talking high on Joey Burrow earlier and with T. Higgins. And I think, obviously Lamar Jackson's trying to continue his kind of tyrant through the league after the loss to the Chiefs. Tyler, I'll kind of let you dig into this game because I feel like Rob and I talked a lot on the last one, but go ahead.
Yeah, I got Joe Mixon, and I am scared. I have him in a 12-man league, and I think I have him on the bench right now. I'm starting guys like Mike Davis over him. Obviously, I just don't feel too confident in him. And Joe Burrow, he's going to come out slinging the ball again. He's going to throw the ball a ton, so his fantasy points will come. AJ Green, I'm out on. I don't want to be involved in him. Kind of a get-right game for Baltimore. They haven't looked as prolific as they did last year. Lamar Jackson's still been great. But I'm keeping an eye on the running backs yet again. I dropped J.K. Dobbins. I'm more concerned to see if Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins take the ball away from Mark Ingram a little bit here. Mark Ingram should still be the guy, but they're just not giving him the ball. And I don't know what to expect. Could be a bad game for Mark Andrews, too. He's gotten most of his points in the first half this year, every single game so far. And if the Ravens get off to a big lead, which they should against the Bengals, they won't need any wide receiver or tight ends from the Ravens. So I'm not crazy excited for this game fantasy-wise. Some guys I might be looking at for other options. I don't think I'm going to start Marquise Brown. You're starting Mark Andrews, obviously, but I think I'm going to roll Ingram out there too. And on the Bengals side, I'm starting Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, and I'm not feeling confident.
Next game I want to dive into is the Panthers at the Falcons, and it kind of just dawned on me. Obviously I knew it was true, but the Falcons are 0-4 off a couple bad comebacks. We'll start with the Panthers, though. Christian McCaffrey's due back next week, I believe, as of this time. And so Mike Davis, obviously, it continues to be a strong starter this week. Tyler, let me ask you: are you trying to trade Mike Davis this week before Christian McCaffrey comes back, or are you just going to hold on to him, take the points, and then discard as soon as McCaffrey comes back?
I think I'm going to hold on to him. I've tried to trade him to the McCaffrey owner, and I've had no luck in one of my other leagues. But I think at this point, you can hold on to Mike Davis. He's getting at least one more week. I think he may even have a couple. I think they should wait till Chris McCaffrey's fully healthy. He's that talented of a player. You don't want to put his career in jeopardy at all. And I think an injury like this, it could come back later in the season. And Mike Davis has really proved everyone that he is a clear starting handcuff. Like, he's one of those top end handcuffs like Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, that when the starting running back goes, they're getting all the touches and carries, and he's looked great so far. So if you're a McCaffrey owner, keep an eye out, wait to see if somebody drops him, and you got to pick him up immediately.
And then for the Falcons, obviously Julio is out I think he's probably going to be out this week because he re-aggravated the hamstring. So that leaves Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Hayden Hurst. I know we kind of talked about this earlier. I don't want to beat a dead horse. But, Rob, what do you think is going to happen with this offense this week? And do you think, obviously, the Panthers are not good against the run, so there's Todd Gurley consideration. You're certainly going to start him this week, but anything else you want to add on this offense or anything about this game in general?
Not really. It is kind of scary the Falcons are 0-4 and could be 0-5. I mean, the Panthers surprisingly have been good, and especially with losing Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Tyler just said it well, but Mike Davis literally stepped in and looks exactly like Christian McCaffrey numbers. Like, the numbers he's putting up in fantasy are Christian McCaffrey numbers. It's actually crazy. And so I think that the Panthers could actually win this game too. I have no clue why the Falcons are so bad. Outside of the blowouts, they've lost to like just bad teams on top of it. But yeah, no, I mean, you got Robbie Anderson on the Panthers side, and I mean, Calvin Ridley's still good. He's still going to put up fantasy numbers even if they do lose. So yeah, especially with the fact that Julio Jones re-aggravated, it's probably going to be out because, I mean, how do you rush him back, especially when he wasn't even doing much when he was healthy? But yeah, no, outside of Ridley and Gurley, I'm a little nervous. Even Gage hasn't been stepping up as much since Julio went down. I thought he would have stepped up more and really hasn't. So this Falcons team kind of scares me, but fantasy-wise, they're usually pretty good, so don't be too frustrated by the 0-4.
I just want to say, did anyone just see Tom Brady losing his mind on the sideline?
Yeah, did you see that would because that would never have happened in New England. There's like 15 offensive penalties on that play. Right. They were first and 30 before they even got to start going. Also, Mike Evans just getting just crappy catches for like no yards, but completely shutting us up in terms of one catch a game. He has 4 catches now for only 29 yards and a touchdown. It's only crappy yards, too. It's like they're second and 57, and he gets like a 12-yard catch.
Next game we'll look at is the Dolphins at the 49ers. Raheem Mostert's not coming back this week, so Jerick McKinnon's obviously going to be a start. Talk to me, Rob, about Deebo Samuel. Is he someone you can start? Do you trust him with Nick Mullins? I know Jimmy Garoppolo was back to practice on a limited basis this week, but it looks like it's going to be Nick Mullins again. So how are you feeling about Deebo being back off IR?
I'm giving it this week to hold. I don't know. It depends on your kind of options. So my 10-man league, I actually was considering it because my flex opened up because I had Eckler and that went out as well. Mm-hmm. I had Eckler and Godwin. They're both out. So my flex opened up, and I have CeeDee Lamb and Deebo, and I was going back and forth between the two. And because Deebo, obviously, probably potential-wise, maybe better, but I'm sticking with CeeDee Lamb for one more week. I mean, it's against the Giants, so it kind of made the decision a little easier. Miami's defense isn't great, so this is definitely a week that Deebo could step up and give me some confidence to start him going forward. But I'm not risking it now with Nick Mullins, with the 49ers offense all over the place. Brandon Ayuk obviously stepped out last week and was really good. I think they might spread the ball around too much. And I'm just giving Deebo a 1-week hold. If you have that luxury, if not, because of injuries and you have to start him, I'm not too nervous about starting him. I just have another option that I like a little bit better.
And then Tyler, for the Dolphins, is Fitzmagic and DeVante Parker. Talk to me about them, and then you can chime in on Mike Gesicki if you want.
Yeesh. A tough call there for those guys. I mean, they do love to give DeVante Parker the ball when they're down in games, but I still am faithful that this 49ers defense is a stingy defense. They're out Jimmy Garoppolo, so I think it's going to be a run-the-ball kind of game. I'm watching Myles Gaskin to see if he gets touches. I'm definitely not starting him. But I would definitely feel okay starting DeVante Parker at a flex position. Mike Gesicki, this is a get-right game for him. For me, I'm not starting him, but I'm watching him and keeping him on my roster. For Fitzmagic, I hope you're not starting him this week. We had him as a starter last week because of the matchup, and this week
you're starting him in a 16-team, 2-quarterback league.
Yeah, there we go.
That's it.
We'll take it. Speaking of a big run game, Giants at Cowboys. I think this is going to be a Zeke week. He's due to absolutely go off. I mean, he's still getting 20 points a week. No touchdown last week. But I think this is the week that he's really going to break out. I mean, obviously the Giants are 0-4. Their defense is not great against the run, and it's Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, you're going to roll out Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb probably as well. I'm going to keep Michael Gallup on the bench, just given the volume of opportunity with the guys around him. Rob, are you starting anybody on the Giants this week?
No.
Outside of probably not even Darius Slayton.
No, I almost put Darius Slayton on the descender. It was a consideration for it because, honestly, only because he started off so strong, and I just think the Giants are bad. I think he will be their best fantasy offensive player going forward. Devonta Freeman could sneak in there, just being a pass catcher out of the backfield and like having 10 dump-offs in one game. But I will say the Giants are a sneaky good run defense, top 10 in terms of yards allowed. I mean, they're still allowing over 100 yards a game in terms of all terms rushing.
Yep.
So I still expect Zeke to go off, but for how bad the Giants are, they actually are a sneaky run defense. I'm hoping that's true because I want CeeDee Lamb to go off in this game because the Giants not a sneaky good. They're top 5 actually. Why is this Giants defense so good? I don't know. They're top 6 and yards allowed passing wise. But no, I think this is still like a huge game for the Cowboys. Obviously, could take first in the division with this a win here. So
I know it's crazy. I want to talk about next the game of 3-1 versus 3-1, which is great for the Browns, but the Colts going to the Browns. Again, I know we kind of touched upon the Browns offense earlier. Obviously you're going to roll out Kareem Hunt. I think he was like limited or missed practice yesterday or today. But I fully expect him to be out there. You're going to roll out Odell again, but what about Tyler? Are we going to roll out Jarvis Landry this week or Austin Hooper in your mind?
I would only start Jarvis Landry if they announce him as QB1. He's throwing the ball to Odell.
Yeah.
I'm definitely benching him. I see this as a run-heavy game for both teams. They're both loving their running backs this year. And I think the Colts defense is fantastic
Number
so
one
far.
overall
They haven't
defense.
been tested too crazy. Yeah, they haven't been tested too much, though. I'm very interested in this game. I'm not starting any depth players from it because I think it's going to be low scoring. But definitely a game where I'm watching a lot of players I'm keeping on my roster, like Chenault, or not Chenault, who's some Robinson guy. What's his name on Cleveland?
I couldn't tell you on Cleveland.
I forget.
I thought
his last name's
Okay.
Johnson.
DeErnest Johnson.
DeErnest, the other running
Yeah,
back. I thought you were talking about wide
up.
receivers. I could not
I
think
did
of it.
too. I picked him up in our league. He played great last week when Chubb wasn't on the field, and I think if anything happens to when Hunt wasn't on the field, then I think if anything happens to Kareem Hunt, I mean, I saw a video that someone like put together of Johnson's runs from last week, and I was like, holy crap, that guy's good. I know.
I think
So
they're going
I
to try to keep this. I think they're going to just give him the Chubb role and try to keep Hunt to what Hunt's been doing instead of overextending Hunt.
I mean, that would make
just
me
keep Hunt
very
doing what he's
excited.
doing.
I'd be very excited with that. So I'm happy I kind of moved Gonwood to my IR spot for the week and picked up DeErnest Johnson. So we'll see if that becomes fruitful for me.
If he's good this week, then he's going to be very good because the Colts are the number 4 run defense.
Yeah, very true. Next game is the Broncos at the Patriots, our home slate, which just got moved to Monday.
At 5 p.m., what a random time. I guess it's so they can do 2 in one day.
I thought it was 6 p.m. Maybe I was looking at
Oh,
Central Time.
maybe this coverage because it's on ESPN. They sometimes do an hour early because of coverage.
Oh, yeah.
Coverage starts at 5. I don't know. I'm on the ESPN website right now and it says 5.
Still love the kickoff
It's
time. An early
beautiful.
kickoff time. Anytime
A
before
true
8 o'clock.
doubleheader. I can't wait. 2 weeks in a row. And then we're going to have a Tuesday game as well, and then maybe a Saturday game. I mean, this is fantastic. Not the circumstances, but all the football we're getting on more days of the week is great. Anyway, Broncos of the Patriots. Looking like Cam Newton's not going to be back this week. I mean, I assume he's not. I can't see how he would be if he tested positive, but there seems to still be some murmur that he could play. You know, obviously, in my mind at least, Jared Stidham's the way to go. Brian Hoyer just didn't look great last week. Tyler, I don't know how you feel about that. And then for the offense, you know, again, like we said, you have to roll out Julian Edelman. And probably none of the running backs in my mind, but Tyler, go ahead and share your thoughts on that.
I don't really care who they're starting at QB. I would lean Stidham as well if I was the Pats. Neither of them looked very good. Obviously, Stidham came in during tough circumstances, wasn't fully prepared to come in the game, wasn't expecting to come in, but they needed him. And you said you weren't excited for the running backs. I'm very excited.
Damian Harris, I knew you were going to say that.
He got very involved. He got very involved last week in that game, in a game that they were behind, and he had no problem just powering through that Chiefs defense. And obviously, N'Keal Harry, I'm out on. Even Julian Edelman, he didn't look fully healthy to me last game.
He was off.
I'm willing to start him in PPR. Yeah, I think in standard, I don't think I'm starting it, but the main guy I'm starting is Damian Harris. His first game back, 17 carries. That's amazing. No involvement in the passing game, but nobody was catching passes from the QBs last game.
The only thing that scares me about Damian Harris is he was so good last week that I think Bill won't play him because he was too good. He was so good that we're going to play Rex Burkhead this week because the Broncos are going to be expecting Damian Harris. You know, it's just one of those things that I'm so afraid of New England running backs because I actually wanted to say Damian Harris is going to be good again because he looks like, I mean, we said it last week, as Patriots fans are like, get rid of Sony Michel, just keep Damian Harris and we'll just move on. But I just feel like anytime that a running back has a good week, he does not play the next week.
I mean, to me, though, he's the clear power back with Sony Michel on the IR now. If they have any goal line carries, especially with Cam Newton out, it's absolutely him, and they're going to have those chances against the Broncos. So I'm all in on Damian Harris.
I want him to be good. Trust me, as a Patriots fan, I want him. One of those situations where Bill just will change up the game plan completely and throw us all off.
Yep. Hopefully, I'm not being blinded biased and I look like a fool when some people listen to this.
Listen, it's all right. You got to stick by your word.
I'm all in on the player. I'm not all in on the fantasy points.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. For the Broncos, we kind of already talked about them earlier. Rob made the Melvin Gordon comments around Phillip Lindsay as well. Jerry Jeudy, I'm probably going to start in this game, especially if Stephen Gilmore doesn't play due to his COVID positive test. But, I mean, other than that... Drew Lock
could be back as well. If Drew Lock's back, I'm starting Jerry Jeudy, especially with Noah Fant. Noah Fant will not play. So if they're passing, who else are you going to pass it to? With all the injuries on that team.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think, there's a lot of moving parts on this offense, obviously, with injuries and people coming back. So it'll be interesting game. It's always good to see the Patriots versus the Broncos. Monday night game, we'll dig into the Vikings at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 4-0. This game is in Seattle. Vikings coming to town. I think, the guys I'm most excited for this week are Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I think they're going to have a great opportunity. The Seahawks defense, obviously, like we said, is not the Legion of Boom anymore. So I think those guys could have a very good game. Dalvin Cook, obviously, will still continue to be Dalvin Cook. He's, arguably the best running back in the league so far this year behind Alvin Kamara. I just think he's been so efficient with the opportunities he's been given. I mean, you put him up there with Zeke, Alvin Kamara, obviously, Derrick Henry not too far behind. And I just think, I think the Vikings are going to come in and score a lot of points. I think the Seahawks are going to score a lot of points too. I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are going to have great weeks as well. I think it'll be a bounce back week for Lockett after being quiet last week. Tough to pick. I mean, obviously, I got to pick the Seahawks going 5-0 at home, but I think it'll be a good game with some good wide receiver scoring.
This game could legitimately end 43-40.
Yep.
If Kirk Cousins is on a good Kirk Cousins day, this game legitimately could be like the highest scoring game of the year. Because We already talked about Seattle's pass defense being horrific, so that's very good for Thielen and Jefferson. Jefferson's one of the guys I was going to have on the rise earlier. And then actually Minnesota is the 29th ranked pass defense. So Seattle's pass offense is already incredible. Now give them a bad defense and let's see them work. They're only worse than the only people worse are Cleveland, Atlanta, and Seattle themselves. So I think this could be a very high scoring game. I mean, the running backs could Tyler already talked about Carson too. They could just completely change the game, and all these running backs could just go off, and then make the game really short because they're running the ball a ton. But I like all the offense. I like all the offense. Give me all the offense except for Kirk Cousins. I wouldn't start him in fantasy, but everything else, I'd start every single player I could from this game. This is gonna be like one of the high scoring ones on a Monday night as well.
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
The Sunday night.
I saw 8.
I was going to say, now we'll talk about the true Monday night game. The Chargers
Yes.
at the Saints in the Dome. This game, obviously, Austin Eckler is not going to be there. I think a lot of talk is around Joshua Kelly versus Justin Jackson, and we kind of dug into this in our last show. Obviously, we're assuming Justin Jackson's kind of going to come in and take the passing role that Austin Eckler held.
That's a cool name.
It's not a bad name, Auckland. I think, in my mind, Joshua Kelly's still going to have, obviously, way more touches. I think he's going to come in and just rumble the ball down the field. Rob, you kind of expanded on this last time, so if you want to reshare your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know I spent big on Justin Jackson in our league and actually my other league as well. And I know Josh Kelly is probably going to be this similar touches. He's been getting the touches all year, and he really hasn't done a ton with them. I know some of the fantasy guys are not big on Kelly right now because he hasn't been taking advantage of this opportunity he's been given so far to actually get a bunch of touches. Mm-hmm. So why not throw Jackson in, especially in the pass catcher role? He's gonna get that naturally. If he even gets a few rushes, that's what I'm looking for this game. I'm not starting him or anything like that. I'm still confused. It could go either way with how they go with it. But if Josh Kelly has a bad game, watch Jackson. I think he could step up into that Eckler role Eckler is going to be looking like 6 weeks, so could be a huge role for him. And then you have to have Keenan Allen, and I think he's a start with Justin Herbert every single time. And Hunter Henry, I know Tyler had mentioned before, so I don't know if he's starting him this week or not.
Yeah, Tyler, I was going to ask you about Keenan Allen next, so go ahead.
Oh, I'm so excited about Keenan Allen. I mean, Herbert absolutely loves him. They love feeding him the ball. Saints haven't been too great against passing this year, and I mean, it could turn out. Both teams have good defenses, but it could turn out to be a high-scoring game. Michael Thomas is back. The Saints have been getting it going lately. They've found their groove after that one bad game that they've had, and Herbert loves slinging the ball. So I'm all in on Keenan Allen this year, and I'm so excited.
And now we'll wrap up with the Tuesday night game. Should it be played if the Titans players can stop testing positive? Obviously, the Bills and the Titans, Josh Allen playing phenomenally this year. Stephon Diggs as well. And then on the Titans side, Derrick Henry's obviously a top 5 to 7 output possibility every week. The
undefeated teams. I didn't even realize both teams are still undefeated.
Yes, they are. The Titans haven't played in a couple weeks, but they're still undefeated.
Less, but,
and then obviously I had Jonnu Smith as a descender earlier, but they have AJ Brown coming back, and that's going to be a huge asset for Ryan Tannehill, in my opinion. I just think the Bills take this game just because of how well Josh Allen's playing. Devin Singletary is doing what he can to contribute. Rob, I don't know what you want to add to this game.
Obviously I love Josh Allen. Had him all year for fantasy, and he's been paying off. And I think he's going to have a good game as well. This is, I think, a big Devin Singletary step-out game for this year. Mm-hmm. Obviously he's been fine. 50 carries, 213 yards, and just 1 touchdown. So he's been fine. Zach Moss continues to be kind of injured, kind of there, kind of not. Really hasn't taken advantage of being the rookie stepping in. So Devin Singletary should be his backfield to lose still. And Tennessee is, they played one less game, but they're 29th ranked run defense currently. This should be a Singletary game. However, obviously, if the game stays tight and they don't run it as much, it seems like the Bills, even when they're up, for some reason they just don't run the ball to waste time. We saw it in the Rams game. Rams almost came back because of it. They just are afraid to run the ball even when they're up because I think Josh Allen just loves slinging it himself. But I think this is a big Singletary game. This just should be a step-out game and should solidify his backfield and maybe him as a potential, just continue to start him every week. I think that's who I'm watching the most out of this game. I think the rest are kind of going to continue their trend. I don't think the Bills will stop Henry. I don't think the Titans will stop Josh Allen. I think Singletary is the big name to watch here.
All right, and that will pretty much wrap up our previews for the Week 5 games. I do want to leave time at the end if he's prepared for Tyler to get his picks in of the week. Tyler, are you prepared for that, or is that something we'll do at a later time?
Ben.
Listen, hey, I just wanted to check. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I wanted to give you the
Gambling
opportunity.
problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So, Tyler, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Regardless. All right. I'm Tyler Massimorino, and
we are due.
I thought that was the hashtag
Here
for
are
last
my
week.
picks.
Still do.
Yep. We're going to keep saying we're due. It's all right. Last week we had a good week. We went 50-50 on our picks, but we hit the parlay, so we're looking good. So this week, I got for you Steelers -6.5. I love the way the Steelers are playing football right now. Eagles have been struggling. I know I said Carson Wentz is going to ascend a little bit, but it ain't going to be against the Steelers. I think they're going to control this game. They're a better team in every aspect. Better defense, better offense, better run game, better passing options, better pass defense, better run defense. They're taking this game -6.5. I'm on that. Another one I'm on is Colts money line. Love the Colts. Love their defense. They're playing great football. It's going to be a great test for the Browns. But at -118 on the money line, I'm taking the Colts. Now I got two picks for the Sunday night game. I got the Seahawks -6.5 and the over 55.5. We just talked about this game. We think it's going to be crazy high scoring. And the Seahawks have just been doing that all year. But when it comes down to it, the -6.5, it's Russ versus Kirk Cousins. I mean, come on. Russ is going to cover the 6.5. Easy pick. And then we got one final parlay with all favorites in it. Taking Rams money line over the Giants. They got that one. They were slacking last game, but they're good now. Sorry, Rams over the Washington football team.
Yes.
The Washington football team's no different than the Giants. They suck. And they
Yeah,
got
now
Kyle Allen
with Kyle Allen starting, they're no different.
Yep. And we got the Ravens money line. They love beating up on bad teams. The Bengals are a bad team. Nothing's going to get going in that game. Ravens for sure. Chiefs, I'm in on as long as Mahomes didn't get COVID from that handshake with Gilmore at the end. That's a little scary. I still think the Chiefs will win this game even without Mahomes. They are such a talented team, and they play great football. And we will go with the Seahawks as the final pick. 4-team parlay. It's Russell Wilson versus Kirk Cousins. I can say that a million times.
I think
just
you get the point.
close your eyes and look at the
and
two
it
in
will
your
be
head.
Russell
There
Wilson.
you go.
Yep. It's Russell Wilson's taking this one, so I feel great about this parlay, boys. We are going to make some money
Let's
this
do
week.
it. I'm in. Is that all your picks, Tyler?
Yes, sir.
All right, that will wrap up our content for this week. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new. Follow us and give us reviews and likes on all our podcast platforms. Rob will have all the links to that in our social media below. Again, we want to thank you so much. We're honored to do this for you every week. We hope you'll come back again soon. Until next time, we will see you on the next episode of the Fantasy Frenzy podcast. Take care.
See you.
Peace out.